involving birthright citizenship. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump wants to end, through an executive order, birthright citizenship granted to the U.S.-born children of illegal aliens. But the president's attempt to do so has been blocked nationwide by 3 lower courts. Well, now the Supreme Court has granted the administration's request to narrow the court orders that have prevented the citizenship taking effect anywhere in the U.S. At the heart of the case, the authority of judges to issue nationwide injunctions, which have dogged both Republican and Democrat administrations over the past decade. This is the final day of the High Court's current term. We expect rulings on 5 other cases to be released at any time. One of those cases involves Maryland parents. They want to opt their kids out of any lessons in their local public schools using books promoting the LGBT lifestyle. This has been an SRN News Special Report. I'm Rich Thomason.
3 years ago, I wrapped up a run of Annie playing Daddy Warbucks with the South Carolina Children's Theater. I was about 40, 50 pounds overweight, tired, sick, fed up with the way I felt. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I had to do something. I scheduled my weight loss consultation with PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. And as they say, the rest is history. Just a few months, I lost over 50 pounds. I took control of my health. 3 years later, I've kept the weight off and I feel better than ever. If you are where I was, do what I did. Call PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. It'll change your life. It's fast and simple. They won't let you fail. Just give them a call at 855-696-2020 to schedule your weight loss consultation. That's 855-696-2020. 855-696-2020. Here's the best part. First 11 callers who mention the keyword healthy will get 2 free weeks added to their weight loss package. Don't wait. Call today. 855-696-2020. Mention healthy to get 2 free weeks, or visit them at myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com.
The following program is a paid advertisement and does not necessarily represent the views, opinions, or endorsements of Signal Hill Media Partners, its affiliate stations, or its advertisers.
Say what you want.
Welcome to We're Just Sayin' with Senator Vickie Sawyer and co-host David Coble. Join them each week as they provide the latest updates on legislation affecting North Carolina, from breaking down key bills to answering your live call-in questions. Senator Sawyer and David engage in meaningful conversations on the issues that matter most to our state. No matter your political affiliation, We're Just Sayin' keeps you informed and involved in the efforts to make North Carolina a better place for everyone. Welcome to the conversation.
Good morning, everyone. You're listening to We're Just Saying with Senator Vickie Sawyer and David. I'd like to be part of the show, 704-873-9929. Back fresh from a exciting and grueling week in Raleigh. Senator Sawyer, good morning.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm grateful to be here. We made it 2 weeks in a row. We should probably ring a bell.
I know, right?
I know. Next week was July 4th. So we're going to not be here.
Nope.
July 4th is on Friday. I love when a holiday falls on a Friday or a Monday.
I do too.
It is so much fun.
We'll be out celebrating America.
I'll
be loving it.
Hey, are you a fireworks dude?
I love fireworks.
Do you?
I do.
Are you
I
the
love
kind
fireworks.
that goes to South Carolina?
Oh, yes.
So
I'm not wasting my money on North Carolina fireworks.
Really?
Yeah. The little poppers and spinners. I mean, I mean, all that is a mess. I mean, like, at least, like, if I'm going to clean up the mess from fireworks, I want it to be the big boomers.
So what are the big boomers? Like, what are your...
Oh gosh. So, I really enjoy, they make these, and I don't even know what they call them. They look like just little, like, they're just like almost like brown turds with a fuse coming out of them. And people know what I'm talking about. And you stick them in a tube and you light them and it's like, poof, and it comes up.
Yeah.
And so, and you would think that, so I'll never forget when I first moved to Mooresville, it was like, I moved into Mooresville in 2001. And I think it was like 2002.
Yeah.
Me and a couple of my buddies, my wife was working. We didn't have kids at the time.
Sure.
So a couple of my buddies from college came up and we grilled out steaks and we got fireworks for 4th of July. And so we went down to the area they were developing away from the house and stuff like that, the other part of the neighborhood. And, you know, in our brilliance, we thought, well, you know what, I'll just take this little, remember the little plastic shelves that you would stack?
Yes.
This little things like that in the bottom of the foot went in. So we thought, we'll take that and it can be a table. And we got the boom tube thing, and we got those turds with fuses in them, and we took them down, and we went and we were setting some off the ground, and like, all right, let's put these on the table. So we put it on the plastic table. We of course didn't secure it. Brilliant.
I'm sure there was no
the
alcohol
IQ
involved.
level. The IQ level at this particular moment in time was off the charts. So we put it on those little tables, and we load the turd tube on the top of the table. We load the turd, we light it, and we're like, wait a minute, and like it was like 3 of them like in a thing. And like the first one went off, and the table started rocking.
Yep.
And then we were like, uh-oh. And about the time the second went off, it went and fell. And so we go running up the street away from it with like the things going past us all over the place, ditching out into the woods and out of the way and everything like that.
So I have a similar experience. So I've never been a fireworks person. And so for some reason, Brett and I decided to buy the similar thing. It was like a cylinder, and it had like 6 or 7 of them. And it's supposed to go off. Well, we didn't secure the base. Now, we were living on our Perth Road house at the time, which is a busy road. And I just had Brady baby, and she was all of like a week older. Well, I guess 2 weeks old. So we wanted to, celebrate. And so our friend John Egan came over. I hope he's listening to the show, because this is the fun. So here I have my baby, newborn mom, everybody's loving it. We take the fireworks out to the front yard into the gravel driveway. We light it off. The first one goes up, and then the rest of them, it knocks over, and it starts shooting out towards cars in the road. But then it like turns and starts heading towards us. So I grab my babies and I run it in, and we're like, run. And my friend Johnny got shot in his butt. I just remember having the babies and running inside and like, John, run. Saw him take the hit.
And he took it for you and your babies. He took it for you and your babies. I can see it now. Johnny out there, no, jumping in front of it to try to save you and your babies. At least that should be the story.
No, he was running. He was trying to save us.
The story needs to be he was covering for you. He was willing to take one to save you and your babies. That ought to be the story. And of course, Brett was like probably 30 feet in front of you, right?
Yeah.
He was like, everyone for themselves. I don't have to be the fastest, just faster than you.
Man, that thing was like launching rockets left and right. Oh my God. So this show today brought to you by the Fireworks Safety Council.
Fireworks and just so you know, this is not a advertisement for your support for legalizing those types of fireworks.
I actually filed that bill several years in a row.
You did.
I know, and I don't ever come around.
No, the firemen do not like it.
Well, so one of the ideas of the bill that we were working with was to put a tax on the fireworks that would specifically fund the fire departments. So you would get more money for the fire departments and enforcement. And right now, the way the law works, although they are illegal, if you're doing it on your property, I don't think the firemen have the right to come in. It's been a while since I looked at it, but it seems like this conversation always comes up, and why we don't legalize fireworks. And then there's a group that says, it's just a whole mess. You just think it'd be so easy to legalize fireworks, but it is not.
You would think. Our good friend Representative Jason Sayin, who he battled against that bill while he was down there. Maybe now that he's gone, it'll get a little more traction.
No, it's been filed again, and it got the kill. Got the kill. But you know what? Raleigh is the place where so many good ideas go to die.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Killed.
That's true.
I mean, killed, dead.
Deader than disco.
Is disco really dead?
Oh, it's absolutely dead.
No way, man.
Yeah, it's absolutely dead.
No.
Nobody discos anymore.
I bet they're going to, you know what? People roller skate now.
I have noticed roller skating has made everything that was old becomes new again.
Hopefully that's the same for my skin.
Yeah, I mean, that's like 90s jeans and stuff like that have come back. It's like those high-waisted
I want to go roller skating. I used to love roller skating.
I would love to go roller skating, but there's literally no chance my ankles would sustain being able to do that. I could just imagine. I might make it one round and then like my whole body would just collapse.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah. But I was actually a pretty fair roller skater. I didn't have like the rhythm, like the people bopping and stuff like that. I really didn't have that, but I could. I always had to get the speed skates, right? Because you had the crusty old brown skates.
You could not get the bobos.
You could not get
with
those.
The orange. They were brown skates with
orange wheels, but you could not. You had to get the speed skates.
You did. You had to get there early on a Friday night, because if you didn't own your own skates, then you had to rent them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't get there early, you were stuck in some bobos.
Yes, you were.
And that was
Absolutely.
not good for the boy girl to
And
escape.
every New Year's, Skate Around USA
Yeah.
would have a
All night skate.
basically an all night skate.
Yeah.
And so me and my friends would go up there, and we would be there all night.
I got
at
my
Skate Around
first
USA.
kiss at an all night skate.
Did you?
I did. I did. My
Aw,
first
what was his
little
name?
kissy.
Do you remember?
I don't know.
Brett's not
No.
listening. It's okay. You could say he was the love of your life.
Well,
All
that
right,
night-
but the one
well,
that got away.
That night, I definitely wasn't wearing the bobos.
You had to be wearing. No guy's gonna kiss a girl in the bobos.
No,
No guy's gonna.
that was a
I
guy
mean, well, I
repellent.
can't. I take that back. Guys can get pretty desperate.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
guys.
I mean, once all the speed get girls are taken, then the bobos were probably what was next in line. So
I
hey,
digress.
if you wanted to get a kiss, then you probably had to go to the bobos. But real quick, before we actually jump into the substantive portion, I have to issue an on-air correction. Our good friend Joey Stansberry, LA to our good friend Senator Todd Johnson, avid listener of the show. We should call him friend of the show.
Friend?
Yes, Joey is friend of the show.
Actually, he is a friend of the show.
I agree. So he corrected me. So last week when we were talking about shrimping and everything like that, I brought up. Well, so I brought up. We started talking. Somehow we got into, and I don't know how I got into it. Which says most about the things I bring up on here. But we were talking about the slaughterhouse like that. And I talked about raising awareness. And I mentioned the book Animal House. And well, that's a movie.
I said movie.
Yeah, you did. We did, but I was like, but also I asked, I was like, wasn't that the name of the book too? And and in my defense, you and Billy agreed. Well, Animal Farm was the book, but the problem is Animal Farm's not about that either. That's an Orwell book. The book is actually The Jungle that talks about the slaughterhouses. So I called the entire account Animal House, which is a movie, which I was thinking Animal Farm, which isn't even about what I was talking about, which is actually The Jungle. So I had to make sure I issued that on-air correction. Thank you to Joey for pointing it out so politely and he even sent links to the audiobooks in case we wanted to listen to them, and so, which I'm not going to do. But in my defense, it's been a long time since high school.
Yeah.
So I have forgotten an exponential number of things since then, but I did want to issue the on-air correction. And make sure that people knew that, yes, I did mess up last week.
I mean, that's all right. I mean, you've only messed up once.
Well, yes, as far as you know.
I mean, it's just, it had to happen. I mean, after 5 years almost of being on the show together.
Well, yes,
just one mistake in 5 years. I mean, that's pretty darn good.
Not everyone can aspire to radio perfection. I come pretty close, but everybody, but every now and then, I'm human. Billy, I'm human.
Yeah, they give you grace.
Listen, you two, I can tell this from being 50 years in broadcast. You would be a perfect morning show.
See, people waking up to the dulcet tones of David. I like that.
Dulcet tones of David.
Bob and Sherry. No.
No, man.
Thank you.
Exactly. They got nothing else. They're past their prime. They're way past their prime.
Yeah, really. Hey, so speaking of past their prime, this session is. That was not good.
That was not good.
Oh, I tried. I tried.
Speaking of non-radio excellence. Wow, that was not a good. It was not a good transition.
Come on.
At all.
I thought it was great. No, that was a good dad. No,
it struggled a little bit. We can work on it.
Okay, let's work on our transitions.
We'll fix it in editing. How's that?
Yeah, we'll fix it
in editing. But yes, it was the ongoing budget battles down there, and policy. Everybody's scrambling to get that last bit of policy through before end of this week, because y'all are basically out of session for a little while.
No, we're not.
Well, you're technically in session, but nobody's coming back, right?
We couldn't even agree on that.
Really?
No.
So what, do you have to be back next week?
I mean, technically.
Technically.
Okay. I'm cat and mouse and thing, but okay. At the end of every session, there is something called the adjournment resolution, which you resolve to adjourn because you're getting ready to choke each other out. So what you do is it gives you like specific things about you can hear these bills or you can't hear these bills or these items are up. And so we will be back, on certain days and not certain days and all of this other stuff. And then everybody gets to go home. That also is important to have a time to go away, because that's also when you can do fundraising activities or fundraisers. And, you just kind of need to like compartmentalize and put, things apart and separate. But when you're in session, there's like limitations to fundraising, and there's also limitations to all kinds of things. So we usually do what's called an adjournment resolution, and the Senate did do their resolution, and we sent it over to the House, and the House said, "Nah."
So no adjournment,
No adjournment.
but no votes or sessions scheduled currently.
Correct. So you folks at home who watch and listen to Raleigh stuff, you can sleep at night because we can't mess up your lives with any more legislation until the thought is, though, I kid, but the thought is that the adjournment resolution that the Senate proposed, it will have us coming back at the end of every month. So the end of July, like July 27th, and then August and 28th, which was my anniversary. I was like, yeah, of course, like the one free, you know what I mean? It's just always like ends that way. So it will be, that was the proposed dates that the Senate had sent over. And then I think the contention was that the House still wanted to have things to consider in some policy decisions that they wanted to have, and they wanted to be able to run committees. The Senate said, no, look, everything's on the table. We need to clean the table we have before we open up any more meals or cook any more dinners. And so that is where we are. So from here until I guess the end of times, we do these things called skeletal sessions. So it'll say the House is in session or the Senate is in session. Really, all it is a few senators will come in, and they every 3 days by law we have to gavel in and gavel out. So
Okay.
that's what they call the skeletal
So
session.
how do you get to be the senators on the naughty list that have to come in? Because that's got to be
Well,
some form of punishment.
yeah, I know, right? Well, so Senator Jay Chaudhary is a Wake County resident. We have a lot of Wake County Democratic representation. So those folks, because they can just stop by because it's only like a 10 or 15-minute
Mhm.
kind of thing. So
But
we
you don't
also
have a quorum.
no,
Yeah,
no,
so you
no
can't
quorum.
pass any
No,
legislation or anything like
mm-mm.
that.
No, you can't do any fun, dark and night stuff. No fun.
In a midnight vote, 3 senators passed
Yeah.
universal basic
health-
income,
yeah.
universal health care.
Believe me, if they could, they would. Hey, speaking of parliamentary procedure, this week, I can talk for me and my seatmate. I'm the only one who probably was very interested about some of the shenanigans that the Democrats did procedurally on the floor.
Okay, so and just to recap everybody, this
Yeah.
is kind of what Democrats do. They don't have any real power right now,
Yeah.
and legislatively speaking.
Correct.
So whenever you guys are getting ready to pass stuff, they just sort of make it as painful as possible.
Yeah. But it was interesting. Anytime like a leader batch, when she is leading that, we're all pulling out the rule book. So like, oh, what? Wait, what? Huh? How does that work? It was okay. So it was pretty interesting. There was a very contentious bill. It had to deal with some social issues around transgender and that. So of course, Democrats hate. So then leader batch got up and she had let me make sure I've got this right because I actually made some notes on this. Surprise. Um, they did this thing that's called a motion to divide the question, which means like if you have a bill and it has several, like say it has two things in it and you like one but you don't like the other, well you can move to divide the question so that basically it makes the mama bill become two baby bills.
Okay.
And then you can vote on baby one bill and then baby two bill, and then they if so it's up or down and then the bill moves on. So that's a pretty cool thing. In fact, Senator Bobby Hennig during our Shrimpgate debate was asked to divide the question. So while I'm going through all these things, I can hear Senator Todd Johnson, who's my seatmate to my left, say the same thing over and over again. He goes, those who rule, rule. Like, stop waste, like this is absolutely like, I know how this story is going to end, yawn. Now, also, he can say every rule. And like, I would say, oh my gosh, motion divide. No, to put it, he's like, Vickie, okay, so that just means it goes into this. I mean, he knows how it all works, right? So
Yes.
he's like completely bored because like the end of the story is that they're going to fail. But the end of the story was theatrical. And I did enjoy the theatrics at some point. It did get a little long. But so when they were finally forced to vote, so the motion to divide obviously failed because Senator Rabin said, uh-uh. And then when they were voting, like the Lieutenant Governor Hunt had to like call each person's name because they refused to hit the red or the green button. And so then when she called them to say, how do they vote? They got up. And you know how they voted?
Oh,
Present.
present.
Not yes, not no, but present.
Hmm.
So she had to call each and every one of the Democratic folks who were doing that's name. So that took a little bit. And then there was this whole debacle as there's not like a present button on here. It's like red, green, red, green. There's no yellow over there.
Yeah,
Right? I mean,
yeah.
it's just not. So what do you do there? And it was very interesting. It even got so far into the Constitution. So
Oh,
Senator
wow.
Sawyer brought up that and shout out to Bob Brinson, who's also a senator from New Bern, and he's an avid listener to the show. Thank you for listening, Bob. Senator Brinson. He had picked out that the part of the Constitution that there was a constitutional duty to vote, yes or no. And then Senator Batch had also done her homework. And so, you know what the fine is written in law that
What?
if you do not vote, $10.
$10 fine?
$10 if you don't holler
Each instance?
for each
Wow.
present vote. And so Leader Batch had like 10 or the money for all of her people to cover the fine.
Nice. That's awesome.
I just thought, some people got frustrated because they thought it was theatrical. I was interested because you always read these rules, but for me, I'm kind of a concrete learner. So when I see it in action, then it's like solidified. And so
Mhm.
then I was like, oh, that's how that, you know what I mean? Like that's how that works. That's it. I know. I just thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you know
So
what I mean?
what were some of the, like, because I know you were a few down, like, so there was the motion to divide the question. What else was
Mhm.
there?
Well, then Senator Berger moved that each one of their votes, let me see if I got this right, each one of their votes be counted as affirmative, no, as an excused absence.
Okay.
So
And
the
that's
motion
a
was
motion
to say not that they were present, but to excuse their absences. Well, that got Senator Garrett hot under the collar. I do enjoy Senator Garrett. We came in as freshmen together. But he was like, you're neutering our vote, and that's, taking away the voice of the
Well,
people and da da da. And
not to be crude, but the voice of the people neutered your vote. they didn't vote you into the majority, and they voted the Senate basically a supermajority. So it was the voters that neutered your vote.
Yeah, I
if we're
know.
being honest.
I know. So anyway, so that was the procedural jujitsu that I thought was pretty stinking interesting. And we all went home and no one got too fussy with one another. But it was neat. I mean, I'm an institutionalist, and
You are.
I enjoy the institution of the Senate and the rules and the procedures that encompass it. And so it's fun to see those rules get dusted off every once in a while.
Well, I mean, and I think it was because, like, and I knew that about you because when we attended the Republican State Convention, when we went down there to oust, when Hassan Harnett was ousted as head of the party and Robin Hayes was put in.
And we had a big fundraiser that night for the Dove House.
We had a big fundraiser for the Dove House, so we had to get back. But we were down there, and I was like, we need to get out of here, and you were just wonking out. Please, let's just stay a little longer. And
I know.
Everybody was coming to the microphone, motion to consider this, point of parliamentary procedure, motion to reconsider this, motion
to my motion on
the ocean. I mean, that was bad.
that was very Vickie of you.
That was actually
that was a Vickie thing to say.
That was a say. But yeah, it's like, it was you were walking out on it, and I was just really like, I wanted to walk out.
You were about to like choke me out.
I was like,
out of here.
I know there's good food and nice people, and it's a good cause up at the Dove House, and we're missing it.
So if you've ever been to a Republican, I have not been to a Democratic convention, but to a Republican Party convention, it is like, I know parliamentary procedure better than you, or I know this better than you. I mean, it's like everybody geeks out. And so it's the first time I had seen it. And it took us like 4 hours just to approve the agenda.
Ugh,
Wasn't it? Remember that?
It was.
And you were miserable and mad, and you weren't mad at me. You were just miserable and mad.
No, I was mad at you. The only reason I was there is because you made me go.
Well, we needed to support the good guys.
We did. We absolutely did.
Our team won. And then after we had been there like 9 stinking hours or something like that. Was it 9 hours?
9 hours.
It was literally
it started
that long.
at like 9 in the morning.
And I was like, I have been here for this long. I am not leaving without voting.
Yes.
I am not leaving. I'm invested at this moment. I want to vote. I think you made me leave before I voted.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I came
because it was going to be another 5 hours.
It was. I know.
It was going to be another 5 hours.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But anyway, so
no. Wait. No, you did get to vote. We left before the results were in.
That's right.
You got to vote, and then we left.
Okay. So.
And we still got there about like Dove House was almost done by the time we got there.
Oh, that's when we sat with somebody who was running for Congress that
Who
we got roped
cried.
into, who
Oh my
cried at a
Lord.
table.
Oh my gosh. That was as if that day couldn't have gotten any
It was
worse.
the worst day. We didn't know that this fellow was mentally unstable.
Yeah,
and
we
he-
did not.
And he was.
We was at our
He
table.
was someone who'd asked for our support, so we were getting to know him. And then he
He
we looked over
balling.
well, I mean, I'm not, you know what?
Well, and be fair,
We're talking about a grown man
the stories, yeah,
crying.
but no, this is the stories are heart wrenching, everything like that. But this was not like crying. This was a deep seated
Oh.
sob to the point where, I mean, like moaning,
Well-
wailing, gnashing of teeth type thing. And it was just like, brother, I know it's powerful stuff, but it's like, bro, you got to
In
rein it in.
So
Don't
the
say in
reason why
his
we
defense.
can no.
Don't
The
say in
reason
his
no, I'm not.
defense.
The reason why we can joke about it now, if that was an isolated incident, that would be okay. But so
Yeah.
that should have been a warning flag, because the day of the election, as we're all out there sweating and campaigning and electioneering, I'm like, where is that guy? And he just had texted his campaign manager and goes, today I just wanted to take my children to the park and I'm swinging with my daughter peacefully.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
And then I was like, oh, brother.
Well, thankfully the writing was
So-
on the wall. He didn't have a shot at all.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So it actually ended up working out. But yeah, that
Oh,
was
gosh,
not
more
a great day
stories.
from on the procedural stuff. But back to the stuff going
Yeah.
on in Raleigh. So you finally got the agenda done, and then
Yes.
you had to cycle through several bills, right?
Yeah, gosh, no, several bills. Like, it felt like 1,000. It was so hurried because we repackaged things. We put them different, or the staff and leadership repackaged things and put them in things, and it was going back and forth, and there were so many just hurried things that were going on. And then later in the show, we're going to talk about Charlotte Transit. So that was
Yes.
a big, that took a lot of oxygen up in the room for me and a few others. But yeah, so one thing that we did do, which I'm excited and want to shout out to both corner offices, there was another tranche of money for Hurricane Helene relief.
Awesome.
So we have that. So that is honoring commitments made to Western North Carolina. So that was something that did get done, but nothing else did.
But nothing else.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, a lot of other stuff
There was
got
other
done.
stuff. I'm just joking.
Well, and when we get back from the break, we'll dig into a couple of different things. But as a continuation from last week,
yeah,
the shrimpers came out all in full force. And like there was a mascot. There was a shrimp mascot at the General Assembly with people taking pictures with it and everything like that. I mean, people were out in full force.
Yeah, it was great.
Over the shrimp bill.
It was great. I've said this on the show before, especially like with the raw milk. People feel powerless when things are happening, and then when they show up like that and it was a peaceful protest. It was great. I mean, people were bringing their kids, and they were, just very, very nice, but very direct that they did not want the shrimp.
Yes.
But I remember I was in the building, and I don't know what time of day this was, but the House was what they call caucusing, when all the Republicans get together behind closed doors and duke it out. And apparently it was overwhelming support not to take up the shrimp bill. And Celeste Kearns, it's not Carnes, it's Kearns. She is from Carteret County, which is like right in the heart of this. And she is a great representative for that area.
She is great.
She is awesome.
She is
I
awesome.
just really enjoy working with her. So she comes out of the House caucus and she's like, it's death. And I didn't see that, but I could hear the joy filling the entire building.
That came across my TikTok feed.
Did it
today? Yes, I was thumbing through TikTok, and there was a guy who was in the shrimping business and everything like that, and he had videoed that when she came out, and everybody's like cheering and everything like that, hugs all around. Everybody made it onto my TikTok feed.
Me too. I mean, it was great. I was like, well, good for you guys. Bad for the Senate because we had to vote on that stuff, but good for you guys.
You guys actually had to vote on it.
Yeah, because now we're the mean old overlord senators who want to kill the shrimping industry.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on.
That's what I do when I wake up in the morning.
Exactly.
Whose life can I ruin today?
What industry can I destroy today?
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Evil. You're listening to We're Just Saying. We'll be right back.
We all want more of a North Carolina, more boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. less littering that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Bravo, Brenda. You've always been a saver. Price matching your price matches. The self-proclaimed queen of extreme couponing. But this time, you've truly outdone yourself. By saving for this electric vehicle, you're locking in up to $1,000 a year in fuel and maintenance savings, which will leave you saying, cha-ching, every time you unplug. Good for your wallet, great for the planet. That's the power of EV. Sponsored by the NC Clean Energy Technology Center and the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters in cooperation with this station.
We all want more of a North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station. We all want more of a North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
Welcome back to We're Just Saying with Senator Vickie, Sawyer, and David. If you'd like to be part of the show, 704-873-9929. So before the break, we were going through the, we have a call. Oh, wow. There we go. Well,
Don't act so surprised.
kicking off the bottom of the hour. Hi, you're on with Senator Sawyer. Good morning.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Vickie.
Hey, good to hear
David.
your voice.
Yeah, it's Jesse. Did you listen to the sheriff's show yesterday evening?
No, sir, I did not.
Yeah, it's something you need to go listen to, I believe. The things on these property taxes, people's issues like myself, we've had hard times the past several years. Used to, they let you get several years behind on that stuff. I got a love letter from them about my taxes of last year. Talking about coming and taking everything.
Yeah.
If I don't pay it by a certain time. When did all that get changed like that? To where, they let you get maybe 5 and 7, 10 years, whatever behind.
Yeah.
Versus, 1 year now, and they come take everything you got, you work for. It's just like for the past 5 years, I've been doing everything I can. And you hit the nail on the head several weeks ago. You said it's like people being punished for working, and that's what it's coming to. Is this America? Is this it? I figured whenever we vote Republicans in, maybe some of this stuff would get changed. No, it's just like it's getting worse.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Who do we turn to in these situations?
Well,
Our health. This spraying stuff ain't helping. I stay sick. They quit spraying. I start getting better. My mind stuff will clear up.
Yeah.
But when they go back to that spraying that you know about, you've been it, you know about it. Everybody gets sick again.
Yeah, I understand.
And that has caused me to miss so much work and get me behind so much. I mean, I'm I just heard an advertisement. You see something, say something.
Yeah.
I'm saying something.
Yeah. Thank
I've
you.
been walking on my wife, bawling her eyes out.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it.
Yeah.
So I hope y'all can get this straightened out.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing and
Y'all have a
your
good
emotion.
4th of July.
Yes, sir.
Too, Jess,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Mm.
No, and
That sentiment is heard. And I'm sorry. And I understand the financial burden that taxes do play. Now, when one question that he asked is, who do I go to? Well, property taxes are really a function of the county or the city, well, the county into which you live.
county collects.
The
Yeah.
county collects. That's why you have elected county commissioners. So if you have an individual problem, reach out to your locally elected county commissioner. They can get you in touch with someone at the tax office and see if there's payment plans or there's things that you can do to help, maintain and keep your property. So that's where I would go on that portion of it. Now, I don't know about what changed if I didn't realize. I mean, thankfully, I haven't had to be in that situation. Although, you know what I used to do? Because I hated taxes. I still hate taxes. I didn't like taxes so much when I'd get those bills in August. I would wait until January 6th, which was the day they started charging interest if you're late. And I would drive it. No, I would drive it to Iredell County Tax Collector and drop it off at 5 p.m.
Wow, you showed them
on January 6th just to stick it to the man.
burn.
Burn.
So much burn.
Here's my money.
And I bet the tax man was just like, ugh, she did it again. Curse you, Vickie Sawyer.
Got it me again. I'm like, you're not keeping my money and making interest off, and I'm going to take my money. For years and years and years, I mean, until just recently, because the tax law changed, I refused to pay quarterly. I always would pay it every year on the last.
Yeah. See, I pay quarterly because if I don't, there's no.
Well,
my discipline is like, man, I get to the end of the year and I wouldn't have it.
Well, it's stupid because I mean, it's more expensive not to pay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I do. Anyways, I'm getting my tax stuff, but I mean, I would be like, no, I want to keep my money. I can make more money off of it than But
Yeah.
anyways,
But to his point, I think
when I was young
when he
and-
asked what changed, I had some experience with this in the town of Mooresville. We had people who were 4, 5, and 6 years in arrears
Mhm.
of their paying. That we had some sewer only customers,
Mhm.
which is rare, but they were like 5, 6, 7 years in arrears on those sewer payments, and so and it had added up to a lot of money.
Yeah.
And generally, what in a situation, and I don't know that this is true of the county, but in our situation is like nobody really knew the depth of the problem until it was actually brought up. In the we'd see it in our reporting and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but the finance person brought it up, and then basically our decision was, well, okay, now what do we do?
Yeah.
And so it
You
was just
cut it
like
off?
we were like, well, you don't technically cut it off. You go out and you stick a balloon right into the pipe to where the sewer no longer flows out. And so
it backs up in their house.
that's the way it works. You turn it off, but warning is given, right? There's warning
Okay.
given, but yeah, you basically cut the sewer off if they don't pay. And so,
Yeah.
and
That
so
could be a very big bill every month, right? I mean,
gosh, no, it's, I mean, your sewer bill is
like
tiny.
less than, I don't know. Well,
Oh
anyways,
God! Well, I mean,
doesn't
it
matter.
depends on
I
a lot of
digress.
times. It depends on your water flow and everything like
Yeah,
that. It's factored
that's true.
in.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, it's you'll a lot of times what will change is elected officials will become aware
Mhm.
of those types of things and say, oh, well, we got to do something about this, make this a priority, and then the agency
staff has to do it.
staff then becomes and starts making it a priority.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, just do reach out to one of the county commissioners and have a conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
And see if there's, I mean, because we do have, and here's what I think a lot of people, and you all are dealing with a little bit out of the state,
Mhm.
is basically talking about the homesteading exemption. We
Yeah.
have people who their homes are paid off, they have no mortgages or anything like that, but through the revals and everything like that, their property and their homes have
Mhm.
become far more valuable,
Mhm.
and they're just writing those tax checks. It's not coming out of a mortgage,
Right.
They're writing those tax checks, and that can have a big
It
impact,
does.
especially when you're on a fixed income.
Mhm.
And so I know that you all have been discussing that down at the
Mhm.
state. I don't know if it's going to
raising
go
that up
anywhere,
a little bit
raising
more.
raising that exemption up a little
Yeah.
bit more, but I know that that's very tough for people.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. So, and also it's very tough for people is apparently to agree on a budget bill.
Clearly, that was a better transition than the
Did I do better?
past my
I did better?
You did better. That was slightly
Nice.
better.
Yay. No, so apparently there was a agreement between the corners on what they felt like were must-haves. And so the Senate again set out the first budget bill, and it was pretty lean. I mean, there were some funding things that were in there that maybe others didn't agree with, but for the most part, they listed it as their must-have bill. So, voted on that, sent it over to the House. And the House was like, well, those aren't my must haves. And the Senate was like, well, wait a minute. You told me those were your must haves. And they said, no, 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 no. You got some more must haves in there than we must have. And then the next thing you know, it's the battle of the must haves. So they said, well, we'll just do our own bill. And so they did their own bill, sent it back over. And we go. And as the world
turns. Well, and I think, I think one of the things, and be this budget, be this policy or whatever like that, there are people who represent different areas. And within those areas, there are different interests, business interests, social interests, municipal and county interests, and things like that. And they come to their representative and they say, I have to think that it's probably pretty tough in leadership because you're not only getting people from your area, you're getting people from all across the state.
Correct.
And they go and they're like, well, okay, I want to look at this. Okay, this sounds like good policy. Let's talk about this and everything like that. And then they think, okay, well, we've got this, but then it comes in and it's like, all right, but it takes because there's so many competing priorities, it takes forever to actually get it out.
Yeah.
And then when it gets out, and we saw this with,
Shrimp?
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Yeah. And shrimp. It's like, people came, I was like, okay, now we're going to take this in to caucus, and everybody's trying to scramble to get things done. Right. Because bill writing takes a long time. Vetting it through committees takes a long time, and you get it out there and then it's all of a sudden, wait a minute, there's a whole angle here and disagreement inside of caucus that we didn't know was there, or didn't do anything to remediate or what have you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it goes and blows up. It becomes people marching
Nuclear.
on. It becomes nuclear. People marching on, Raleigh. And I think that the pressure on you all is unbelievable. If you were in leadership, I'm sure it is as much or bigger. And so I think to me, it's just like I wonder if there's a better way to do it. I mean, and again, not that I'm trying to criticize, but it's just like we find ourselves here all the time.
Right.
And so you would think that maybe just, could there not be a better way to do it? If there is, I'm sure someone will come up with it. Or this may be, and what would be really depressing is this is absolutely the best way to do it. After a couple of 100 years of doing it, everybody said this is how the best way to do it. Or just get AI to write the things. I mean, come on, just give it over to AI. What could go wrong?
I know it's labor intensive, and this is a little Pollyannish of me, but when we are having these contentious policy discussions and they are pre-negotiated, and now as a senator who voted on some things that the House does, it really puts the Senate in a bad situation, because then I kind of feel hung out to dry on several things that that had been negotiated and agreed upon apparently, and then goes to caucus, like the shrimp. Like, let's talk about the shrimp thing. Yeah, you know what I mean. And that goes to caucus, and then it blows up. And so then you have one side of the House or the Senate, who looks like the bad guy, and then we're the villains, and the House is the hero. And it felt like that happened over and over and over again this session, and to where mean old senators and good old white cape House folks. And so there needs to be, I think, a different way, because this is non-productive. I mean, there were some things that got done. I'm not saying we didn't get a lot of stuff done, but and it's hard to do, but a stakeholder process, especially when it involves like different senators in their backyard and stuff, that's important.
Oh, yeah.
Getting buy-in and consensus and slow change over time, it's so boring. It's so boring.
Yes.
It's not, it doesn't get things done quickly, but then when you get that consensus, then these kind of things don't happen. Right. And so, the bills will always fail. When we were doing, the NC10 commission, I was so thankful that I had a lot of participants who came in from all over the lobbyist community, and we sat in a room and we worked it out. We set them up in different groups, and we had Duke Energy and the Southern Environmental Law Firm in the same working group, because these people battle all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, let's fix this. Like let's fix it. And we did. We came to a consensus. We got the legislation done. We moved it through. And then when it was time, these are very contentious issues, like EV fees, like increased EV. That's a very contentious issue that had tried to be done for years and years and years and years. But because we did the stakeholder process and we brought in Senator Julie Mayfield and Senator Mike Woodard, two Democratic senators who were very passionate about transportation as well as understanding the need for EVs and trying to do that delicate balance. So when it happened, they kind of were able to like shoulder and talk to that community that were very frustrated with those fees, and it kind of tamped it down, and we were able to get it passed for the first time in like 15 or 10 years of everybody talking about EVs paying their fair share. It never got done, but this time it got done.
Yep.
Now, was that easy to do?
No.
No, it's not easy to do. It takes time. It's like you got to talk to your people and you got to get consensus. But what was easy to do was pass the bill.
Yes.
That was the easy part, right? And so sometimes I think the way that this is all working out, and it does this every session at the end of sessions. This is not a dig or dug or a dig on anybody. It's just that the process has evolved to where it has been is unhealthy, and you can see that unhealthy spilling out into social media.
Oh yeah.
And like we talked last week, and that unhealthiness is making us look not great.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you've said it a million times. Nobody likes watching the sausage be made.
No.
Right. And I
Well,
think, well, some people do.
Yeah.
But overall, but like, you've got the things like the shrimp bills that did not
Yeah.
make it out. Then you've got the things like the Charlotte Transit
Yeah, we can talk
bill
about that.
that got out. So, Charlotte had been, we've talked about it before. Charlotte's been looking to get the light rail
Yep.
up and running so it can come north. And they wanted a sales tax in order to be additional, the ability to put a referendum on the ballot to do 1 cent sales tax increase. And so, believe it or not, you would think, oh, well, that's just for Charlotte, everything like that should be something just totally easy.
Yeah.
No, not at all. No, not at all. Well, anytime you're talking transportation and taxes, it's never just local.
No.
It never is.
Right.
Because people see it and they're like, oh, well, if we're going to do that, then maybe we could do this over here, maybe we could do that over there. Well, if they're going to do that, well, I want to do that. I want that option. And so you get all the competing interests that ultimately come in what on the surface you might think would just be easy, and
Right.
it's simply not. But one positive that that we got to see
Yeah.
was that there were concerns about the bill and everything like that, and we were coming down to the wire, and people got together and had conversations back and forth and everything like that, and like finally settled on everybody gives a little, everybody takes a little, and everything like that, and we're able to get it across. So the way it so it's on to the governor to sign.
Yeah.
All
And-
indications are he'll sign it.
Yeah, so I'm hearing some folks who called and asked me about this. So if you can take a moment to just go
Yeah.
over it, if you don't mind. So I did file the Senate companion on the bill along with Senator Rabin and Senator Craven. I do and am the only representative that is a Republican and that has North Mecklenburg. So
Yes.
our towns definitely wanted it. I did hear from some folks in the small business community that did not. They are very worried, and at this point, that those conversations, the voters will decide.
Yes.
But like I said in committee, I'm old enough to remember in 1998 where they drove a train from Davidson to City Charlotte, celebrating the fact that they would have the red line, and they passed the tax and all that hoopla. Well, we've been paying that tax for a long time, and that train still isn't here.
Yep.
So the northern towns are very concerned and want to make sure. But also, there was a couple things. Well, there was a lot of things I was hearing from my caucus mates. One was that they didn't want a tax. They didn't want to have anything that's a tax, and that was not. They worried about how that looks statewide because remember we talked about on this show. One of the things that we want to do is get to a 0% income tax for everybody. The only way to do that is to either broaden this current sales tax that we have or increase the sales tax that we have. If you allow for Mecklenburg County to continue to increase sales tax, because they got a mills tax, they've got all this stuff, then it could, and let one county have that could upset the apple cart on the vision down the road. So does this throw a wrench in it? I heard that from concerns from folks. I'd also heard concerns about just like, I will never vote for tax ever, no matter what. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I also heard from folks like, why do I care about Charlotte?
Yes.
Like what's that? But my sincere, and Senator Todd Johnson and Senator Michael Lazar, but specifically Todd and I, our concern was that if the towns in Mecklenburg do get this tax, each one of them will get money for roads. In the 10-year construction plan, then that they call the STEP, if you're a local town and you want something to be built, you can put money towards that project. And the more money you put towards that project, the more money or the higher that project scores, Now, remember, we're all competing for the same pot of money. So every 2 years, they put all the projects, all the requests into a bucket, and each of those projects has a score. The higher the score, the more likelihood and the quicker that your project will be built. Okay. So say that this all passes and these towns are all competing, and we compete primarily Iredell, Mecklenburg, Gaston, and Union. We all compete for the same dollars. So if you're going to give those towns in Mecklenburg more money, then good luck, Iredell and Union and Gaston, for getting the, or it's a Gaston, but Iredell and Union for getting those projects scored. So we're basically hamstringing those Iredell County if we allow the bill to go as written. That was a non-starter for me. That was like, this is not going to happen. That one thing that is so important for Iredell County is transportation. That's why I work so hard to do everything I can. And I think you see all kinds of orange barrels and everything everywhere. That is not just a product of my work, but a lot of people's works concentrating on Iredell. But I'm definitely the biggest cheerleader. So if this bill were to pass, now make no mistake about it, leadership wanted it to pass. And Democrats were very happy to vote. And remember how many Mecklenburg County senators, there are a lot. So there's a lot of votes there. So I knew it was going to pass. But how do I protect Iredell? How does Todd protect Union? So we were absolutely on fire to make sure that we put an amendment in there that will say, towns in Mecklenburg, when you get this money, this is transportation dollars for you, but it cannot go towards the STIP. It cannot. And you can't do that normal local government thing where you take money out of transportation and fill, you know what I mean? You have to sustain the same amount of funding that you had for the past 10 years. And you cannot, so that's called supplanting when you move. You know, people talk about the education lottery. You know, they always say, well, we have this education lottery and everybody told us that it was before to build all these schools. And why does it cost so much to build where's the lottery money, right? Well, that was one of the accusations is that that lottery money supplanted. So instead of enhancing. And so we wanted to make sure that that didn't happen in Mecklenburg. So that was one of the things. Then the second part of the amendment, which Senator, so that was my amendment that we did hashed out. And then the second part of the amendment that Senator Johnson did on the floor was to say, okay, let's say that you do get this tax and towns, you are like monkeying with the numbers and making your STIP project score higher because you're using this as an unfair advantage. Then the other towns can go, state auditor, go check that out. Let me see where their money's coming from. So I feel like it's a win because we protected Iredell. We gave the Mecklenburg communities what they needed and wanted. They want the ability to have the 1 cent sales tax so they can build mass transit across Charlotte. Still hoping for the loop. And and then also protecting Union and Iredell. So everybody wins.
Yeah. Well, and I think you are someone in the senators that cross boundaries. There are some, I know there's some that don't cross boundaries. And then there's others that do, or at least these types of boundaries, right? I mean, there's people that cross counties, but you've got folks that got, largely they're in majority in a rural county and then they cross into another rural county, right? But you actually have, really codependent areas, right? I mean, Mooresville, Statesville, Mooresville, Troutman feed Charlotte and Charlotte feeds back up. And we have the same roads going in and out of each other and everything like that. And we are a byproduct of Charlotte's growth, right? And so you are in a unique position to where it's like, well, I've got a segment of my constituency that wants this. I believe in this. I know that we need it because we have to do something about traffic, right? But I can't do something here that's going to negatively impact my other set of constituents, right? So it's like, how do you balance those? And it's a tough balancing act. It really is. But I was very impressed at the way that you all worked. You worked with the Charlotte, the folks out of Charlotte. You worked together on it and try to,
and
address all the concerns. And you honored
we
your
made
commitment.
a deal. If you get these two amendments in there, then I will honor the commitment.
Yes.
And the commitment was made so many times in the frustration, and you'll see in the press between the House and the Senate, you make it, and that's going back to our earlier conversation, you make a deal, you stick to the deal. Right. And that is, we made the deal and we stuck to the deal.
Well, and we saw that last time around when where casinos were concerned.
Right.
Stories came out that, Senator Berger and then the Speaker of the House, Tim Moore, had worked out a deal, and Tim said basically, okay, well, if it gets out over there, as long as X number of majority of my caucus supports it, we'll do it. Well, then it got out of the Senate, and then the threshold changed, and the politics changed, and it gets frustrating. And so, and the whole thing about it is, and I think most people agree with this, whether it's a transaction between two people that you do on Facebook Marketplace, or it goes all up to the highest levels of leadership in your government, there has to be a foundation of trust with the person you're working with on the other side.
Right.
If you don't feel you can trust them, it's going to be extraordinarily difficult to ever get to a deal, because it's always going to be in the back of the mind. Well, are they going to screw me over?
Yeah.
And that has happened too many times. It's like, I've always felt like that. Look, if the top leader over here and the top leader over here come to an agreement, and one says, I'll do this if you do this, and he says, well, okay, I'll do that if you do that. If I do that, you have to keep your commitment and do that.
Yeah.
If you don't think you can get that done, don't make the commitment.
Don't make the commitment. Yeah.
And just be honest about it. Say, I can't do that, but I might be able to do this.
Yeah. And so, to Senator Berger's credit, I mean, he has made, I've watched him work over time, and he does stick to a deal that he has made. I mean, he's very, good about that. And it does, now I'm only hearing this from the Senate side, but it does feel like, we get to these contentious issues, like, let's go back to Shrimpgate, that Senator Berger honored the deal, and then the House doesn't, and you kind of look like a thing. So that's going back to the whole point of, if you're going to make a deal, you better know your caucus.
Yeah. Well,
and the stakeholder process. And that's what the problem is that the deal can get made, but then you bring it back to your caucus. And if your caucus doesn't like it, then you really didn't have the authority to make the deal, maybe.
Yeah. Well, and again, I'm not trying to throw shade over at Speaker Moore about the casino thing.
Yeah.
The politics changed.
Right.
And when politics change, there are people who you thought were with you that will scurry the other way.
Yeah.
When the politics change.
David,
and so I'm not trying to throw shade at him by any stretch of the imagination.
No, gosh,
but I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier, of what a very it's a delicate process. It's a messy process.
Right.
And it just makes it really difficult to get the stuff especially big things out and pass.
And so that maybe that's a byproduct of not personality, but the system that we have, because it is a part-time legislature, because if we were full-time, I don't know that I agree with this, but
You're basically full-time now.
Well, but if you were full-time and like people, then you could have the stakeholder process, right?
Yes.
You could have those meetings and get people together and build consensus. But because, effectively, senators and the House reps are there, really truly working full days. I mean, I'm usually there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but I mean, like, anyways, then it's hard to line all that up, right? And so I can see how leadership needs to get anything done, has to make those decisions at that level. But maybe it's not about the people, but about the system to which we're all working in.
Yeah, no, 100%. So you have got a little bit of time off. I mean, I'm sure you'll still be fielding calls and going through your district.
No, don't call me. No,
no,
no, office closed.
Office closed.
Office closed.
Constituent services in Senator Sawyer's office are taking a 3-week hiatus.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need me really, do you? I mean,
well, at this point, I mean, if you're not down there, I mean, what do we need you for?
Yeah, I know, right? I mean,
But
I'm just kidding.
I'm sure you'll be getting a few breakfasts and a few meetings.
Yeah, actually, tonight I'm going to a fundraiser for Congressman Moore. Tomorrow is the 4th of July Troutman Parade. Yeah, so, and then I have meetings with other folks, and then working in the office, and just continuing to do and live the good life of a dutiful senator.
Serving her constituency.
Serving my constituency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But by the way, I do want to put a plug in. Last week I mentioned that me and the family were going down to play life-size Monopoly.
Yeah.
Down in Charlotte. It's a pop-up Monopoly thing.
How was it?
Go down there and do it.
Okay.
So much fun. It's like Monopoly meets escape rooms. It is really cool. I mean, go down and do it.
Okay.
And it's been so popular, they've extended it. It was supposed to be done at the end of July. They actually extended it to November. And so my family won, which was inevitable given the way we play. Monopoly in my family has always been a blood sport.
Yeah.
I mean, even with me and my cousins, we had like the yellow legal pad I have right here that no one on the radio can see. So bad radio etiquette there, but I have a yellow legal pad here next to me. If you're interested in, like, we would keep deals on the yellow legal pad.
Oh,
Like you can
wow.
have 3 passes over my property and not pay any rent in exchange for this, that, and third. And our Monopoly games went hours.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
love it.
hours.
I
And
love
it was a
it.
blood sport,
I
and there was a
love
lot
it.
of deal making going on. And as cousins, sometimes you could trust us, sometimes you couldn't. My one
Ah,
cousin always seemed to find a miraculous couple of $500 bills underneath the board.
interesting.
So we don't know if he stole them or if he just hid them,
Uh-huh.
making us think.
Yeah.
But
Well,
so take your family down there and do it. It was absolutely
okay.
fantastic.
Sounds like fun. I definitely would give it a shot.
You should. We should go down.
We should.
We should go down.
Okay, we'll do it.
Adult trip.
Adult trip.
Everybody have a great weekend. Thanks for listening.